But I'll say this in closing, there has to be that division there, to where he said, you know, because you hear it all the time, let's just be quiet and let's just keep, we're lucky to have a job. Even the president of the local, she gives this big town hall meeting where we still have our jobs. Okay, you know, just be lucky, be happy, you still have your job. Take whatever. Yeah. You work for 14, you work for 28, just be happy.
But you gotta fight back.
Would you don't think we've entered the period of demoralization?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think we're talking about a different thing than just poverty. They could be shooting us down, they could be doing, but no, I don't think we're in the period that we're talking about here. The demoralization was a political demoralization based on the readiness of the workers to fight in the face of a growing multi-million person fascist movement with armed bands, and they didn't fight back. The leaders refused to unite and fight back. So yeah, I don't want to say people aren't demoralized, but it's a different period exactly. Hold on a second. But it's important that we keep questioning this and examining it, because we're not just here because we like a class and we have nothing to do. It's because we know that there will be a fight back, and the ruling class can use fascism. They learned very much from this, from Hitler and whatever. And this will be of use to us, and we're looking for ways to intervene to where we can. They just had 200,000 people marched in Phoenix against this apartheid immigrant 1070 bill. That's something that they didn't expect. 200,000 in Phoenix?
Yeah, really.
That's just saying the beginning of a fight back, a march.
Boy, it was a fight. They fought back.
Let's realize.
They had a voice. They came forward with a voice. That is a fight back.
We don't know what's going to be accomplished. Maybe there'll be strikes later.
Just the fact
Maybe
that they came together was big. That was huge. That the people did succumb.
Well, the capitalists get nervous when they see people turning out in large numbers like that.
Yes, because a demonstration, even a little picket line. You know what the word a picket line is a military term. See, demonstration, you can march and go home. But what if you march and don't go home, or you march and take things over? See, there are different levels of protest. Civil rights movement had a lot of marches. They also had sit-ins. They had all kinds of tactics. But the thing is, people on their feet are ready to fight. And I'm using that. Unfortunately, the workers aren't doing that as a class in the factories, but in other areas we're seeing it. I got to get to Kim because she had something. Then we'll come back to you. And then we'll come back to part 4.
Yeah, you only answered part of my question.
I'm sorry.
What's the difference between okay, you slang totalitarianism, but how's that any better compared to fascism? Kind of like the same thing.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, military dictatorship. Well, totalitarian just means total control, and fascism was totalitarian. But let's call a military or police state is different. And as I said, you weren't here yet. The person getting beat on the head or shot down or lynched could care less what we in this room call the person who's doing the killing, lynching, or beating. So that's clear. And we're opposed to it no matter what you...
We see that now right here in the city of Detroit.
Right.
The militarism that they're using now against the people with the Ayanna Jones case.
Absolutely.
And so, are we in the beginning stages?
Well, that's the point. The point is that
we're
trying to distinguish... We're trying to distinguish that a military state or police state, even no matter how repressive, they even carry out mass murder, does not do or accomplish what the fascist movement, totalitarian movement does, which is demoralize and pulverize the working class. Because its ability to recover and fight back still exists. Like I said, if they dispersed us, come in here, the cops could come in here, smash the windows, tear gas us, we all split, we'll find a way to get back together. But in Germany, they didn't try to get back together. They were demoralized by it. They were atomized and pulverized. And it wasn't just that they were upset. They were politically defeated. They had their faith in their leaders destroyed. And we need to talk more about that. Shall we continue with part 4, though? Because there are 6 of these parts. Not to mention a whole other section, but we can skip the other section. did you want to read?
Sure, I'll read. 4. Such a mass movement can only arise on the basis of a petty bourgeoisie, capitalism's third social class, situated between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. If this petty bourgeoisie is hit so hard by inflation, bankruptcy of small firms, and mass unemployment of university graduates, technicians, and the higher salaried employees, that it falls into despair, then a typically petty bourgeoisie movement, compounded of ideological reminiscences and psychological resentment, will arise. It will combine extreme nationalism and at least verbal anti-capitalist demagoguery with the most intense hatred, the organized workers' movement against Marxism against communism. At the moment, this movement begins physical attacks on the workers, their organizations, and their actions. A fascist movement is born. After such a movement has passed through a period of autonomous development, which it must do if it is to win mass influence, it comes to need the financial and political support of important sections of monopoly capital if it is to carry through to the seizure of power.
This is a little bit what you were talking about, and this is the fascist movement. And I think he characterizes it perfectly, and you can see the beginnings of it, only the beginnings in these tea parties.
Right.
They are middle class,
Yeah.
they're predominantly middle class, maybe a few upper workers in it.
Right.
They are a little better off than the rest of us, maybe a little better educated, not that they know more, but they might have
unemployed too.
but they're also being threatened with unemployment or worried about their pensions. They may have had their businesses destroyed. And so they are being ruined by what? Capitalism. But they don't turn against capitalism. They turn for nationalism against immigrants in this country, the standby against black people. But they also turn against blacks and immigrants. They use some anti-capitalist demagoguery. So some of them are against the bailout of the banks. They'll say, they'll tell you. They'll tell you,
Before the
you know,
constitutional rights of everyone.
right.
Yeah.
But they also, if you notice, one of the big things they're against are the teachers' unions. That's what you hear a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all, so it's a perfect, and he wrote this in 1932, I think, 31.
Ooh, wow.
Trotsky was writing to describe them, and he's got some other descriptions which are good too. So this is the nature. It's a petty bourgeois. It's a big class. That middle class is big. In Germany, it was almost 50% of the population. The ruling class itself can't do this stuff. It can't terrorize us. What, Rockefeller's going to come down here?
Yeah, right.
The 20 or 50 Rockefeller cousins going to come here with clubs? No. They need to whip people up.
But they'll kill
Hope I
you
catch
with
them
the
on
fascist
film.
movement. Right.
Well, and now the Tea Party is not fascist in the sense that we're classically yet, because they haven't started the armed attacks.
Right.
When we were up there picketing them in Clinton Township, some of us went up there, they had a big rally, we just plopped ourselves right in the, off to the side there where they all had to walk past us. Some of them were ready to do battle, there weren't enough of them who wanted to do it. Some of them wanted to fight, most of them wanted to argue, which was fine, we'll talk to them, maybe we could even diffuse a few of them. But a few of them were just rabid. And you could see it wouldn't take much if they had a few more buddies to come and get us. And that's when it'll cross over from just a petty bourgeois, semi or pre-fascist movement to an actual fascist movement. And then we will have meetings like this, but we'll put guards at every door. Whether we have a club or a stick or a hidden gun or whatever it is, because we're going to protect ourselves.
That's like what they did with the people on the boat. They showed that was a fascist move. But for them to go on that boat and kill those people like that. That's fascism.
Israel?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
And
rooted in hatred.
Other than that.
and I'd like to read just this again.
I don't think so.